83 students are here. Okay. So kindly join quickly. Okay. So now we are having around 90 students. Still there are some 50 students to join. Okay, kindly join quickly so that I will start my classes now. So yesterday we started with the data modeling concepts. So under the analysis model, the first thing what we have to do is the data modeling. Then only we are going to the scenario based modeling followed by class based modeling, everything. Okay. So what we are doing in the data modeling is exactly what you are what you had studied in your DBMS, okay, database management systems. So that means the core part of the data modeling is to define data objects for your project. So whatever software application you are developing, you have to define the data objects. Okay. So for that, we have to go for this data modeling. So not only defining the data object, you have to just process the data object, as well as you have to identify the relationship between various objects. That also you have to think about, and also some other information which are just we can point out with respect to these relationships. Okay, so what kind of relationship you are establishing between the data objects. So these are all the particular details what we are discussing under the data modeling. So simply if you are considering data object means it is nothing but a representation of any composite information. Okay, why we are calling it as composite information? Because data object contains many attributes. Okay, so that is what you are seeing in the table. So normally data objects are represented in the table. You can see from this table each record, for example, each row can be identified as a particular data object. Okay, so that is the way how we are defining the data object with many information. That is what we are saying it as composite information. And this data object may be anything. Okay, like it may be an external entity, a thing, an occurrence, an event, a role. Okay, so for example, if you are considering an external entity means what we can say, what example we can say for a data object. I just want some of you shall interact. Okay, so what can be considered as a data object for the external entity? So we are saying that data object can be an external entity means what example we can give here? What can be the external entity? Yeah. Some example you can give. For example, let us say this particular project student management system. For the student management system, okay, so we are defining some data objects. So with respect to this detail, what can be an external entity for the project student management system? Now you can tell. Yeah, please students, I am asking you only. See, and some of the students are continuously answering, like Vishnu, Shagana, okay, so to some extent Vikas. I am having some around 140 students. So as of now, I am having 97 students. Okay. So what about the remaining students? Why most of you are not interacting? Shall I call someone else? Gautam V. Gautam V is there. V Gautam. No response. Sai Preetham. Gurram Sai Preetham. See, from now onwards, I will be just writing down the names of those students who are not replying, because I don't know whether you are listening to the class or whether you are present in the class. That itself I couldn't able to track. Simply you are joining and leaving out, I think so. Gautam V. Yeah, Sai Preetham. Gurram Sai Preetham. Hitesh.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Hitesh. See, I'm just discussing about the data modeling concepts. Okay. So we are defining the data objects for the student management system project. What can be the data object, or simply what we can consider as an external entity? That is my question.
Student attendance.
Student attendance is an external entity. Okay. So right, fine. So now Hitesh answered like this: student attendance is an external entity. So it is not only the object can be an external entity alone. We may consider it as a thing. So now, if it is a thing, means what will be the data object for student management system again? If you are considering as an external entity, you are saying it is student attendance. Fine. But for a thing, what is the external entity? Come on, quickly say, someone. What will be a thing? Thing means, you know, it is something like a physical thing. What we can think about?
Students.
Student. Yeah, fine, very good. So this is the way how we are just classifying the objects, data object for a project. It may be an external entity, it may be a thing, or it may be an occurrence. What you are considering as an occurrence as a data object? Yeah. And Hitesh, you just said previously student attendance is supposed to be an external entity. You just think, recall it. Shall we have the student attendance shall be an occurrence? Again, it is a data object, but it shall be considered as an occurrence, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that means, see, if you are attending the class, it is an occurrence. Okay, you are attending today's class. Have you attended yesterday's class?
Yes, sir.
Are you going to attend tomorrow's class?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. So this is what we are talking as a student attendance considered as a data object. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. So the external entity is not the student attendance, but anyway, according to your knowledge, you are saying the data is fine. But on the other end, an occurrence means what? Say the students who are attending the classes, today's class or yesterday's class or tomorrow's class, something like that. Okay, an event, a role, an organizational unit, a place or a structure. So all this we can able to put as a whole as a data object. So you just relate what may be an event, what may be a role. Okay, so a thing you said it is as a student. Student is a thing, but you just think about student is a role. Okay, teacher is a role. Okay, like that we can able to consider the student teacher as a data object. Okay, so this is the way how we can able to plan. Student is not a thing, student is a role. Okay, so in this university you are a student, but outside this university you are the son of a parent, or you may be the nephew of some other relative. Okay, so or you may be a cousin brother. So just like that, you consider the various roles what you are playing. Okay, so this is the way how we can consider the data object. So here, for example, we can see an object as car, And yesterday itself I had mentioned the different attributes, okay, naming attribute, descriptive attributes, and referential attributes. So, and I also told you I will be explaining these data attributes clearly. Anyway, already you studied in the DBMS to some extent, but anyway, we shall recall it now also. So, what exactly is the data attribute? So, data attributes is nothing but some features or properties of a data object. Okay, so these attributes only define the characteristics for the data objects. And what are all the characteristics we can able to define? See, there are some three characteristics. If any one matches means we can say that is an attribute. Okay, so that is see what are all the three characteristics we are having: name and instance of the data object, describe the instance, make reference to another instance in another table. Okay, so these are all some of the characteristics which can be defined for the data attributes. Suppose if you want to define data attributes for a data object, you have to name an instance, okay, of the data object. What is that instance? Car color, okay, car body type, car owner, car model. These are all some of the instance of the data object, and you are giving some name to it, and you are describing that instance, and you are making some reference. That is what referential attribute says. Okay, you are referencing one instance with another instance in another table. So that is what you are doing with the foreign key and primary key relationship in the DBMS. Okay, and you can define any one of the attributes in the particular data object as an identifier. That is what you are defining as a primary key or unique key. Okay, because using that identifier only you can just represent the data object, or you can able to retrieve the data objects. Okay, so this also I think you are aware, and this set of attributes for data objects should be determined based on the problem context. This is what now you are going to do. Okay, for example, in your project like email application or chat application, whatever project that has been assigned to you, you are also supposed to define some database. Okay, so how you are going to create the database? With some data attributes, sorry, with some data objects, and for the data object you are going to define some data attributes. So how you are defining the set of attributes for the data object for your project based on the problem context. Okay, so for the chat application, what may be the data objects and what will be the data attributes in the data object? You have to define. Okay, for your particular system, what you are going to develop. Okay, right. Now in this connection, I'll be asking question here. Already you are aware of some of the attributes for the car like this, which is shown in the table. Okay, like this. Now, what additional attributes will be added to the car? Apart from this attribute, what has been shown: make, model, ID, body type, color, owner. Okay, so there are 6 attributes available, data attributes. Okay, apart from these 6 attributes, what are all the other additional attributes you shall add to the car? Shall anyone tell me?
Like price of the car.
Very good.
Maybe the type of fuel.
Type of gear. Yeah, correct. Fine. Very good. So see, immediately, instantly you can say some of the additional attributes that can be added to the car. Okay. Now I am giving one hint also. For an automobile company, okay, that needs manufacturing control software, what additional attributes you can define for the car? See what I am asking. You just understand the question. For car, if you are going to purchase a car from a particular dealer, okay, these attributes are suffice, like make, model, ID, body type, color, owner, price, okay, type of gear, whatever you are considering, that is fine. Okay, so according to the particular dealer where you are purchasing the car, this is the database with the data object car and also the data attributes that is shown. But my question is different. Suppose the particular car has to be manufactured, okay, in the particular unit in the company. Okay, so there what additional attributes you can able to consider for the car with respect to manufacturing control software, because now just there is a car that is going to be manufactured There some softwares are there, some controlling softwares are there. There what attributes you can consider?
Like some additional software for some back cam, rear side camera and all.
Okay, good.
Seating capacity.
Fine, very good.
GPS. Okay.
Very good. Engine horsepower. For example, I am saying. Okay.
Mileage tracking, sir.
Very good. Okay, so now I think you got the point. So this is what I expected. Okay, see, that is what I am saying, the problem context. Okay, problem context means just like that you cannot define the attributes for the car. It all depends upon for what environment or what problem you are just going to develop the application. So the situation is we are having the car as a data object, but that particular attributes are different if the car is in the particular dealer, is with the particular dealer. Okay, so or if the car is with the particular company that has been manufacturing the cars, there the entire problem is different and the additional attributes are also different. So this is the particular thing what you have to always consider. Okay, so the problem context is important for defining the data attributes. You should not define the data attributes generally. Okay, you have to look around the problem. For this kind of problem statement, what may be the data attributes we are considering for the data object. Okay, right. Now, following this data attributes, the next important concept of data object is relationship. Okay, now see, we are having two objects. One is book, another one is bookstore. Okay, so you can define a diagram like this. The basic connection between these two objects. Fine. Now I am asking the question to you, what are all the relationships between these two objects, book and bookstore? Shall anyone tell? Yeah, Gautam is there. Again, I am calling him. V. Gautam. Yes, hi Preetham. See, they are available in the Teams, but they are not answering. So this is not good. Okay, then I will call some other student. Jeeves.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. Now I asked one question. You can see from the slide. What are the relationship that you can establish between these two data objects, book and bookstore?
So relationship means book can be bought
What?
or rented from the bookstore.
Okay, so one thing is book can be bought. So bought is one relationship what you can consider. Okay, so it is not relationship exactly. It is the relation generally we can say. Okay, then another one is you can say you are saying that rent. Okay, so some of the bookstore may provide that facility also. Correct. Okay, so book can be rented from the bookstore. Right. Good. Okay, that's it. So now the idea is what? After defining the data objects like this, okay, you had also just defined the attributes for book separately and attributes for bookstore separately. Okay, so the attributes for the book may be the book name, okay, book ID, book price. So like that you can define. Similarly for bookstore is location of the bookstore. Okay, so name of the bookstore. So again we are having different attributes that we had finished. Now we are just trying to relate between these two data objects. So we can define a set of object relationship pairs that define the relevant relationship. Okay, so how we can define, as your friend says, that is correct, but you can see from this diagram what are all the relationship between these objects. So book orders, book has been ordered from the bookstore. Okay, otherwise bookstore orders some books for a particular organization. Okay, So bookstore displays some books. Bookstores present the stock details of the books. Bookstore sells the book, and book can be returned to the bookstore. Okay, see these are all some of the relationship between this object what you can establish. Okay, so this also you have to plan. So once if you have defined the database for your project, and after defining the database, you are supposed to present the data attributes. Once the data attributes is also defined, then you have to see whether we can able to relate between the tables, between the data objects. So how we can relate the data objects? By means of some of the relationships. So what are all the relationships that you can establish? That also you have to know. Okay, so this is the way how we are doing this part also. Once if you have done with the relationship, then you are going to the next step, the cardinality and modality. Okay, so now again coming back to this example, see, bookstore is ordering, or bookstore places some orders of some books. Okay, so you just consider that particular first relationship, orders. For this, how many books has been ordered? That is not defined. Okay, so that is what we are calling as the occurrences. That means how many occurrences of object X are related to how many occurrences of object Y. So now here we are having two objects, book and bookstore. Okay, so we should have to identify the number of occurrences. So how many books has been ordered, on what date? Okay, so for today I am ordering 3 books, tomorrow I am ordering 4 books, day after tomorrow I am ordering 5 books from the same bookstore. So now what happens, what are the number of occurrences of order? So this is what we have to plan next. Okay, so as a particular data model concept, what you are defining, so you have to able to represent the number of occurrences of the object in a relationship. So that is the next step, and that is what we are calling as cardinality. Okay, so cardinality means what? See the standard definition given here. It is the specification of the number of occurrences of one object which can be related to the number of occurrences of another object. Okay, so we have to establish how many times the book has been ordered, or how many books that has been ordered. Whether I am ordering the same book today, tomorrow and day after tomorrow, or whether I am ordering a different books. Okay, so this is what we have to consider after establishing the relationship. So that is what we are calling as cardinality. So cardinality also defines the maximum number of objects that can participate in a relationship. Okay, so we can able to provide the maximum number of objects. Okay, so for example, in this book and bookstore also, I am having some 1000 books in the bookstore, means all the 1000 books can be placed with some order. So that is possible. Okay, we cannot, could not say like okay, we can place only 500 books, or we could place only 900 books. That is not the limit. So if there are 1000 books in that bookstore, means all the 1000 books can be ordered for a particular company or a university. Okay, so that is what we are defining as the cardinality, right? So as I said earlier, we are having some number of orders. Okay, as I mentioned for the book and bookstore. Similarly, I am coming to the another example for the cardinality. So person, car. Okay, so for this person and car, there is a basic connection shown in the diagram, which you can see the top, and also you can see the relationship between the data objects also. A person owns car, and the person insured to drive that car. So these are all the relationship what you had established. Okay, now based on this two data objects, okay, can you define the relationship as whether this person to car, okay, whether the two objects person and car can be established with a one-to-one relationship? So before that you should know there are types of relationship under the cardinality details. So we are having some one-to-one relationship, one-to-n relationship, and m-to-n relationship. As I think you are all aware about these details earlier, I'm just refreshing it. Okay. So now my question is, there is one object called as person, another object called as car. So for between these two data objects, I can establish a basic connection as well as some relationship is also there, that you can see from the diagram. Now the question is whether this is a one-to-one relationship or one-to-n relationship or m-to-n relationship. Yeah. Now tell me.
One-to-n relationship.
1 to n.
1 to
N.
1 to n. Okay. Okay. Any other argument in the m to n? Okay. one of the student is saying 1 to n, another student is saying m to n. Okay. Okay. Now the question comes here. Why you are saying 1 to n first? The student who said 1 to n, please tell me.
So that's because only one person can possess multiple cars, but then a car cannot simultaneously be possessed by multiple people. Like when you're taking insurance for a car, it can be under one person's name only. Like two people can give their names for a car.
Okay, that is fine. Okay, so you understood the problem context in this way. Accordingly, you are saying the relationship. Okay, a person can purchase multiple cars, that is fine, from the particular dealer, that is there, fine. And another way, there is a particular relationship, what has been shown here, person insured to drive the car. So that means, as you said, we cannot have one car to be provided license with two persons. Yeah, that is also fine. Okay, but okay, I will leave here. Okay, so your answer is justifiable. That is fine. That another student who said m to n, you justify your answer. You tell me why you said like that. M to n. Someone said no. Someone said my m to n relationship. Who said that m to n relationship? That is also correct. I am not saying it is wrong. That also can be justifiable. Oh my God. Sriram.
Yes,
you
sir.
said 1 to n, correct?
I say 1 to n only, sir.
Someone said m to n, no? Followed by you.
I don't know who that was, sir.
Yeah, I also don't know. Just I am getting curious. Why suddenly he stops? See, my dear friend, who said that answer? Please tell me. At least I just want to know that person. That is enough. Oh. What happens? Okay, right. I don't know why that student is not responding. Fine. M to N relationship is also there, but in a different context. Okay. So how it is in different context means.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, my network was somewhat.
Oh, right. Sai Venkatesh.
Yes, sir.
You only said M to N.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you are justifying it?
I thought that they can be shared in the one car. So.
Okay, right, fine. So see, that is a different context. That's what I am trying to mean here. See, if it is the particular details about the ownership, okay, the relationship is ownership relationship. Whatever Sriram said is exactly correct. Okay, so that is 1 to n relationship. But m to n relationship is you just skip this ownership, owns, insured to drive, you just skip that. Simply you just have the basic connection person and car, two objects are there. Okay, now the person may be a driver. Okay, so now what the driver can do with the car, he can just call upon any number of passengers in the car. So that means carpooling is there. I think some of you may be aware about that in Bangalore also. Okay, so with respect to the carpooling, what is happening? The driver can allow any number of passengers into the car. Okay, so this is one thing what we have to think about the relationship. Okay, now coming to the car part. Okay, so you just think about the Ola, Uber, and other particular cab hiring system. Okay, with respect to this cab hiring system, okay, so there may be multiple cars, okay, which can be having many drivers. Okay, that means for a single car, okay, so there may be 3 drivers or 4 drivers under the cab hiring system. For example, I'm saying, okay, so mostly the car owner will be the driver, that is fine, but otherwise, okay, so we shall have this kind of logic also. So that car can be rented to any number of people. Suppose there is another particular carpooling, like we can able to hire the car and for self-driving. So I am hiring a particular car for self-driving today. Tomorrow another person is hiring the same car. So in that way, we can just see the relationship as M to N. So that is also applicable, but on different contexts. That is what we have to understand. Okay. So based on the problem context only, we are defining the cardinality, whether it is 1 to 1, 1 to N. Simply, you cannot say this cannot be done with M to N. This cannot be done with 1 to 1. We cannot say like that. So based on the problem context, we have to think about. Okay. So this you can relate with any other details also. Okay. For example, there may be many uncles who are having many nephews. Okay. So M to N, correct? Okay. And 1 to N. One parent may have many children. And finally 1 to 1. In our Indian culture, one husband should have only one wife. Correct? My dear students, now you got the relationship. What is 1 to 1, 1 to N, and M to N. Okay. So now this is what we are defining as the cardinality. Fine. Now after defining this cardinality, now there is another question. How it can be known that a particular data object must participate in the relationship? Okay, so that is what, see, I told you initially in the cab hiring system, we are having one car can be given to many drivers. Okay, and that is also there are multiple cars can be shared with many people. Similarly, on this side also, we can say there may be one driver calling many passengers for a particular car. So in both way, we can have this kind of relationship. Fine. But how it can be known that a particular data object must participate in the relationship? There comes the modality. Okay. So that means what? Whether there is a need for the relationship between these two objects. Whether the person, whether the driver is hiring the particular car or not. Whether he is participating in that relationship or not. That can be defined through the modality. So modality can be specified as 0 or 1. So 0 means what? There is no explicit need for the relationship, and 1 means if there is some occurrence of relationship that is mandatory. Okay, so that means here again I am coming back to the same person car object. So the driver may not hire any of the car. Okay, and that particular car coming to the Ola or Uber, that cars are not shared with any of the drivers on a particular day. Okay, so that is a modality. There is no need for relationship here. So that is applicable. But if you are thinking about modality as 1 means the occurrence of the relationship is mandatory. How we can consider this as the mandatory relationship? Just think about our student management system. Okay, so what is the mandatory relationship here? A student should enroll for minimum of 5 courses in a semester. Okay, he cannot say okay, I need not want to enroll any of the courses in the particular semester. That is not at all possible. At least minimum of some 5 courses, depending upon the academic curriculum and syllabi. So no student can deny that I am not going to register for any of the courses. That is not at all possible. So there the occurrence of the relationship is mandatory. But in the case of person and car relationship, yeah, the driver may not own the car, or the driver may not need the car, or the car may not need the driver. Okay, so anyway, we can define the modality as no explicit relationship. But in the case of some other project, we are supposed to have the modality should be mandatory. Okay, the occurrence of the relationship should be mandatory. Okay, so with this, I think you got an idea about the data modeling concepts. So I am not actually discussing everything. Followed by this data modeling concept, whatever I discussed here is about the data object, data attributes, data relationships, okay, data object relationships, and also the coordinality and modality. So followed by this next topic, which is supposed to be present here, is all about the ER modeling or entity relationship modeling. So that is what I discussed in the terms of coordinality and modality. But the further details of the ER modeling, I am leaving it to you itself, because you already studied this in the last semester. So you can just create your own ER model for your project. Okay. So entity relationship model with various attributes, data attributes you can specify, and also you can just create some 1-to-1 or 1-to-n or m-to-n relationship. For using that, you can develop your own ER model for the project which you are doing. Okay, so this already you studied, so I skip this part and I am moving to the next topic, which is object oriented analysis. Okay, so the first thing what we had done is data modeling. Yeah, someone is unmuting. Okay, so after finishing the data modeling, now we are exactly moving on to the object oriented analysis, because from this point onwards we are moving on to the development of user scenarios, that is use case model, followed by the class diagrams, that is the class based model, or then we are going for the behavioral model, and also we are how to discuss about the flow model. Okay, so all these are coming under the topic of object oriented analysis, because already I mentioned there are two approaches. One is the structured analysis, another one is the object oriented analysis. Okay, so the data modeling is always skipped in your latest edition of your software engineering book. In the earlier edition, only we are having the data modeling details. Okay, so the data modeling itself, the topic itself is skipped in the 8th edition or more than that books. If you are referring to the book, you can see that. Okay, so it all starts with the object oriented analysis only. So now we have to define the classes and the relationship between the classes. Okay, so for that there are number of tasks which we have to accomplish. So what are all the tasks that we have to consider is given in the particular list. You can see user requirements must be communicated between the customer and software engineer. Yeah, so this is one requirement, one task that has to be satisfied, which can be done in the analysis model, especially object oriented analysis. Then the classes must be identified. You have to define the class, you have to define the class hierarchy, you should know about the object to object relationship, you should know about the object behavior. Okay, so this task 1 to 5 are reapplied iteratively until the model is complete. So this task is continuous. So you have to refine it frequently, because there may be some classes which you have to remove, there may be some classes which you have to add, you have to define some new object, so you have to define some new relationship. All this stuff has to be reapplied again and again. Okay, so these are all the tasks that has to be accomplished under the object oriented analysis. Now in the object oriented analysis, the first one those who are not suddenly understanding what is this, you can see here. I already mentioned this diagram, elements of analysis model. In that, the first one is the scenario based models. That is what we are going to see here. Okay. So now, first we have to understand about the scenario, user scenario. User scenario in the sense means who is going to use that particular application or product. So that is important. You can see there was a discussion between some of the team members. Okay, so there is a conversation between the team members about the particular user scenario what they are going to plan. Okay, so user scenario means what? We can define the end user details, the actors, who are all the actors of the particular use cases. Okay, so what is the role of the actor and what they are actually doing. So all this stuff we have to discuss before going to the particular design or particular model. So that is what we are calling as the scenario based modeling. Okay, so under scenario based modeling, you have to create the scenarios in the form of use case, as I mentioned. Not only use case, additionally we are having the activity diagrams and swim lane diagrams. Okay, so we are going to see how to define the use case, how to draw the activity diagram, and also swim lane. So writing the use cases, how you are going to write the use case. See, this kind of problem you are not having for your project. Why? Because it was given to you. The use cases was written and given to you. So you are not describing any specific usage scenario for your project. Okay. But if you are actually doing a project, actually getting some particular customer project, you have to start from this model only. So you have to just define the user scenario in the form of writing use cases. So we have to know what to write about. Okay, how much to write about, how detailed the description should be, how to organize the description, everything you have to do. So that was the discussion happening here. Okay, so I think, yeah, right. Okay, so for the safe home surveillance subsystem. So in our book, if you are referring to any example for the discussions what we are having, the common example, the only example given here is about the safe home project. So for the safe home surveillance system, it should identify the functions performed by the homeowner actor. I already defined the homeowner is one important actor for this kind of project. And for the same actor, what are all the functions that has to be done for this project? So that has been listed out here. Okay, so this list has been provided from this user scenario diagram only. User scenario discussions. Okay, if you carefully study this user scenario, then you can able to identify the functions performed by the homeowner actor. So these functions are listed out from that conversations. Okay, so what camera you are going to use? That is, you have to select the camera to view. You have to request the thumbnails from all cameras. For example, if you are thinking about safe home surveillance system, the camera view only there will not be only one surveillance camera. There may be some few numbers. Okay, so all this particular camera view has been taken as a snapshot and it has been shown in your system as thumbnails. Okay, so that means from all the cameras, the view has been shown in the form of different thumbnails in a single display. Okay, so that is another requirement which has to be made. And yeah, display the camera views in your PC, and you have to think about the control panel. Suppose if I want to, yeah.
Sir, like in programming, we have OOPS concept. So is it like we do the object-oriented analysis and then we map it to object OOPS concept? Are they two? There is a connection between these two things?
Yes, definitely, my dear student. See, that is the problem. OOPS already you studied, no?
Yes, sir.
That is the problem. So the sequence of the subject is not properly aligned. See, this software engineering has to be studied in your second year. Okay. So once if you study about this kind of details, then you can apply this for the object-oriented analysis and design. For example, let me just think about the hierarchy of the courses. In the third semester, you have to study software engineering. Fourth semester, you have to study object-oriented analysis and design. Otherwise, parallelly, you can study OOD as well as the OOPS concepts. But the thing is now reverse. You are studying OOPS first. But anyway, no problem. We can able to map it. But the hierarchy is not like this. Okay. So you have to apply all this model, analysis model in your coding. Okay. After this analysis model, you are going to design. See, I don't know how far you are familiar in these aspects. Any particular problem statement cannot be directly written as a code. Are you agreeing to this fact? Any problem statement, see, we are asking some problems. Okay, write a Java program. Okay, we are defining some one paragraph problem. And for that problem, you are starting to write a code. That is not the proper way of doing the project or software developing an application. For experimental purpose only, we are doing like this. Write a Java program for the particular problem statement, and we are giving the problem statement, and you are understanding the problem statement, and you are writing the code directly. That is not followed in the companies. In the companies, what they will provide is all about the design model. So you'll be having a design model, and that using that design model only you are going to write the code. Okay, so first you have to understand the design model. So if in order to understand the design model, you have to go to the analysis model. In order to understand the analysis model, you have to go to the requirements, SRS document. Okay, so this is the hierarchy. So you will, as a coder, as a developer, you will be given with the design model. So this is the design model, what you have to develop, write your code. So for that design model only you have to write the code and you have to show the particular outcome. So that means what? Now, if you want to go along with this OOPS concept as you mentioned, you should know all these details. Okay. So for example, again for this, coming to back to the same thing what you asked, safe home system. For this safe home system, there is a particular requirement. So in a single PC, in your PC window, there may be some, even for our team also, MS Teams. Okay, so there is one problem. You are seeing the gallery view. For the gallery view, how many students I can view at a single stretch? If there are 20 students means, okay, 20 students I can see. If there are 25 means, okay, I can able to extend up to 25. But if there are 40 students means, I cannot see in the gallery view. Now, what about the, I can see the thumbnails of each and every student is as a small rectangle or square. That may be different. Okay, but the thumbnails is not showing the entire 40 students. That is a drawback. That is a limitation. So what I have to do, I have to show the, I have to move on to the large gallery. Okay, so large gallery, again, how many students I can see at the maximum? That is a debatable question. Okay, still I had also not checked in the Teams. But what I can do, from that thumbnail, I am selecting one student and I want to zoom. So for a specific camera, it can be done. Okay, if there are some 10 cameras in your home or in an apartment, for all these 10 cameras will be shown in your particular PC as a single view along with various thumbnails. So if I am just clicking on one thumbnail, that particular camera will be zoomed out. Okay, so and you can see whatever has been functioning with respect to that camera operations. You can access the same camera from the internet also. Suppose you are outside your apartment or home and you are having this particular software in your home means in your office you can just open your laptop, you can connect through internet with your safe home system and you can see all the camera views of your home. And if I want to click on a particular thumbnail, immediately that has been zoomed and you can see what is happening there. So how all these things you will know? If your problem statement is defined like this. Okay, if it is not given means what you will develop? Simply you will write the code, means what type of code you will develop if you are not understanding the problem statement clearly. So whether we can provide the problem statement like theoretically writing this is what the first step you have to do, this is what the second step, that is also difficult in a big project. So what we have to do, we are providing all these things in the form of some analysis model that has been converted to design architecture, architectural design, user interface design, all such designs are there, and then you are moving on to the development. This is the way how you have to do the task. Could you understand now?
Yes, sir.
That's all for the today's class. Okay. Okay, my dear friend, there are many things to explore. Okay, many of you are maybe thinking like writing the code